it is officially July, which marks the start of the second half of the year, which means that I can now tell you guys all about my reading during the first half of 2025. Let's get into it. So as of the start of July, I have read a total of 34 books, which is insane. My goal for this year was to read 50 books, and I guess I can say I'm ahead on that goal, which is insane. Like last year, I didn't even come close to 50. I think starting this and being more involved in the BookTube community obviously is helping to keep me motivated. Also, a lot of the readathons are actually really motivating me to keep reading and is making reading fun, which is lovely. I think one of the things that I was really scared about starting this channel was the fact that reading was going to become a chore. And the fact that that hasn't happened is actually a great win. I want to talk about the book that I started this year off with, which was Kingdom of Ash. Yeah, I finished this book on the 5th of January, which was quite the start of the year. And actually, in my opinion, it sort of set up my year because I started with a 5-star read. This is a chunker of a book. It's the longest one I've read. Starting off the year with a 5-star book basically meant to me that I was up for a great year. And to be honest, it didn't really disappoint. I use the Cawpile system to figure out what rating I want to give a book, and so I also have the Cawpile spreadsheet. I'll insert a little bit of a screenshot here where I just insert all of the books that I've read. I give them a rating. I basically rate books on 7 categories, which is characters, atmosphere, writing, plot, intrigue, logic, and enjoyment. If you don't know how these things work, I will link the video in the description below where G from the Book Roast actually explains how the Cawpile works and how you can maybe start one of your own. Okay, so there's a lot of great books, obviously, that have been read. I've enjoyed a lot of books, but I figured I would start with 2 of my least favorite books. One of these I DNF'd, and one of these I very reluctantly made my way through. The first book that I actually DNF'd was a buddy read with Donna from Donna Mariereads, which was Fall of Ruin and Wrath. I've read, I think, the first 3 or 4 books in the From Blood and Ash series from Jennifer L. Armentrout, and I thoroughly enjoyed those books. Now, I thought this sounded really intriguing until we started this book and realized that it's basically smut scene after smut scene, just sort of woven together with little to no plot and no character building. I just didn't care. I didn't care what was happening. There were things, there were people dying. I didn't care. I think we made it, up until page 144 of 400. So we gave it a fair shot, is what I'm saying. But no, just no. The other one that I made my way through, there's no other way to describe it, was Scythe and Sparrow. Now, I read Butcher and Blackbird, or listened to the audiobook, and loved it. It was a great, great audiobook. I thought it was very different from what I was used to. I loved the banter. I loved all of the murdery, gory, graphic stuff that was going on in there. And throughout that series, Scythe and Sparrow is the third in that series, it just went downhill. It felt like it didn't fit timeline-wise, or that maybe book 3 should have been book 2, so it felt a little off. It just felt like she made a great first one, and then had sort of an idea what to do with book 2 and 3, and she was kind of stuck with timeline-wise what she did, and just had to sort of fill in the gaps. It also became less gory the further you went along, which, in my opinion, was the wrong thing to do. You cannot start a series with the first book opening on a scene with a dead body filled with maggots, and then end when I don't even know what the goriest thing was, because there wasn't really much going on there. If it weren't for the readathon that I was doing at the time, I would have DNF'd it. I would not have finished it. Now, there is a new book that Bryn Weaver is coming out with, which is Tourist Season, which, I want to give her another shot to see how that one is going to go. I think I might wait until there's at least an audiobook, because if it's along the same vein as Butcher and Blackbird and all of those, I think I'm going to love the audiobook. I love the first one, so if I do end up not loving this one, I think Bryn Weaver is just going to be a no for me going forward. Okay, so when it comes to being surprised, you can be surprised in a bad way, which I have mentioned with the 2 previous books, but you can also be surprised in a good way. And I kind of thought about what surprised me in a good way and didn't end up actually being a 5-star. And in that way, there was one that really stood out to me, which is fairly recent, so maybe recency bias, but To Borrow a Boyfriend Club was such a wholesome, nice read. I don't really read YA middle grade that much, and that book really pulled on my heartstrings. I really did love it. I think that author has more books out, so I think I might actually see what the other book is about and see if I enjoy that one as well. It was enough of like the high school drama and all of that, and then add in the LGBTQIA+ storyline, along with the whole found family, along with everything else. It was just a great time. If you want, I know that a lot of people love found family, especially when it comes to LGBTQIA+ storylines. This, honestly, if you want an innocent one that doesn't really shy away from the issues, but actually does still feel like it's not too heavy and keeps it light but keeps it real, this is a book that you really should read. For my favorite book of the first half of the year, this was really difficult because I'm not very strict when it comes to rating my books. I have 6 5-star reads, which I think should probably be more. So I have 6 5-star reads and 21 4-star reads, which is insane. Out of 36 books, that's a great reading year so far. But I'm also not that strict about things. So if I enjoy it, that's fine. If I cry, it's 5 stars automatically. So there were so many good books that I've read, but there was one where I have this page in my book journal, which if you've seen my book journal videos, you will have seen this, which is basically a book bracket where I figure out what my favorite book of the year is going to be. And there was only one book that I read that I was like, this has to go on there immediately, which was The House in the Cerulean Sea. TJ Klune is with just reading this one, feels like it's going to be an auto read for me. I'm still planning on reading the next one, which is Somewhere Beyond the Sea. It is on my TBR, obviously, but I first want to do a reread of this book so I can annotate it, because I read this on my Kobo first, and this speaking of found family and LGBTQIA plus stories, this was, I don't even know how to put it into words. I think I mentioned it in one of my other videos. I don't really know. But this was such a lovely, lovely read. Also, it really reminds me of the job that I do and the kids that I work with. So that was another little thing where it touched my heart in a different kind of way. So, like the synopsis says, it's got a lot of good tropes and a lot of good social commentary. It's got a don't judge a book by its cover. It's got like the fact that the Antichrist is in here. Is he not? We do not know. But yeah, I think especially in my line of work, a lot of the kids that come through are seen as bad kids when they're really not. They're just hurt, they're just in pain, and they lash out, and that is what is happening there. Obviously, the love story between Linus and Arthur is also really at slow pace, but you can see how it develops really slowly and how he ends up protecting the kids and everything and all of it. I mean, the quotes in this book as well are lovely, are amazing, and read this book if you haven't. Really, please just read this book. Now, some of the other books that I really want to mention that I had a great time with, which might not be fully 5 stars, but were very high up there, but they should be mentioned because I had a whole lot of fun. To no one's surprise, what I had a lot of fun with this year was the Empyrean series. If you are a part of the Little Corner of Booktube community over here, you will know that Donna did a whole 3 months of reading through these books on live streams, on, just all together. And while we were reading these, it was Donna, Hermie, and myself were in a WhatsApp group sharing our thoughts about these books while we were reading them. And it was just an amazing time. I feel like I met 2 of my best friends while doing that, which is an amazing thing in and of itself. And then we just boshed through this. We read through this in 3 days, and we just lost our minds together, which is always fun. And I think this book is enemies to lovers. And I'm not saying that this is also in this book because the characters go enemies to lovers, but Hermie and myself had a little bit of an enemies to lovers with this book as well, because we had read this book and we didn't like it. It was overhyped in our opinion, and it just wasn't clicking. There were a few things that we didn't like about it, and it just, no. Cut to a few weeks, months after we've read it, we were on sprints, and Donna set up let's reread it just again and see if we can change our minds. Obviously, these 2 I think I read Fourth Wing and Onyx Storm and Iron Flame. I listened to with a graphic audio. Onyx Storm's graphic audio wasn't out yet, so this I might actually, from someone who hated this book or the first book to someone who might actually re-listen to this because the graphic audio is coming out. That should tell you about how fun and how enjoyable all of this was. Along the same vein were these books. Now, these will always have a special place in my heart because of what happened during. Obviously, I buddy read these books with Hermie and Manda, and we had our Discord going on, but these are actually books that I read certain parts of on live streams, on sprints. And some of those sprints were hosted on my channel, and some of those sprints were actually some of my very first sprints that I did on my channel. So for that reason alone, these will always have a special place in my heart. You might notice a theme when it comes to favorite kind of books, which is this also very heavily leans on found family. As you can see, these are big books, but they do not feel like big books. Both of these I listened to, like I did a immersive reading thing, and it flew by. And I don't know if you can see, but the amount of tabbing that was done, I mean, this one a little less so, I think, but I mean, look at this. One of the goals that I have this year was to continue and finish series. I currently have 14 series on the go. One of those, and I finished one. Don't judge me, okay? I will be finishing one of the series, which is The Hunger Games, which is, I just have to read Sunrise on the Reaping, and then I'm going to be up to date with that one. I'm up to date with Wicked Games, which is Phantasma, Enchantra. I'm up to date on that one, so that's good. I'll just go through the series that are currently on my list. So the first series that is on here is actually The Faithful and the Fallen by John Gwynne. I had started The Faithful along from Becca and the books. I just couldn't do it. There's so many characters, it's so complicated, and I couldn't get through it until about book 3, where I realized that what I actually want to do is immersive read that book, or those series. So I've now actually joined Claire, and Claire is doing a little read-along for this series. So we're just on book 2. I have yet to reread book 1, but it's fine. And just try and keep up with it that way. But it is great literature. It is a great book. I just now found out the way that I should read it, or that works for my brain, because it's just, there's so much, and I think the audiobook is actually great. The narrator is great, and his accents and the way that he changes, the way that he talks, really does help to differentiate between all of the different characters. So that's why I'm doing the immersive reading and going to be doing this all over again. The second series that I'm reading or trying to get myself through is the Windy City series by Liz Tom-Forty. I'm up to book 2 at the moment, and I think she's up to book 5. Now, these are books that are going to be audiobooks sprinkled throughout, so I'm not that pressed about this. This is just fluffy romance to bump in between. Then we have, obviously, Wicked Games from Kaylee Smith, which are the Enchantra and Phantasma books, like I said. So there should be, I think, a third book coming. Don't know when, but it is coming. I read the first book of the Red Queen series by Victoria Aveyard. I will be making my way through all of them because I have them. You can't see them, but they're on there, on my bookshelf. They were gifted to me by a friend, and I will finish them, I promise. Then we have, obviously, the Cerulean Chronicles by T.J. Klune. So Somewhere Beyond the Sea is definitely going to get read. I just want to reread House in the Cerulean Sea first. The Empyrean series, up to date on that one, like I mentioned. The Monsters of Verity, which is by V.E. Schwab. I listened to the first book. I was really intrigued by it, so I really do want to continue this series. I listened to it on an audio, so I think I will be continuing an audio version. It's a really interesting world. So one of these series that I want to continue is the Crowns of Nyaxia series by Carissa Broadbent, which started with Serpent and the Wings of Night and now continues on. I think it's a pretty interesting way that she did it. I think there's duologies that fit together, but it all like fits into the same world, if I'm not mistaken. So I think there's 2 books that follow 2 specific characters, and then she just switches. If I'm correct. If I'm not, please tell me. The Fae and Alchemy series, which is the Quicksilver one. I've read Quicksilver twice now, I think. So now it's just to wait. So technically up to date. The Locked Tomb. I read Gideon the Ninth. I thought it was like okay while I was reading it, and then the ending happened. So now I want to read the second one, and I want to continue that. The Ruinous Love series, I reluctantly finished. The Secret Projects by Brandon Sanderson, I think from my understanding, that's basically a bunch of standalone books that don't really fit anywhere. So then we have the Into the Darkness, which is a series that was new and came up with a storm on our little corner of BookTube. I listened to Lights Out. I will be listening to Caught Up, I think is the second book, which I'm really looking forward to. I loved the audiobook. I liked Lights Out. I thought it was going to be darker than what it was, which for a girlie who hasn't really read dark romance says a lot, I think. It just started out one way and it finished being something completely different. So I don't really know how to feel about that. And I've heard mixed things about the second one, but I do want to listen to it. So then obviously we also have the Crescent City series, which I'm on number 1 and 2 I finished. And then obviously the third is going to get finished as well, which would make me up to date. And then obviously we have the Hunger Games, which I have one book left, which is Sunrise on the Reaping, and will get definitely finished. So all in all, not too bad. There's going to be series that are going to get added, I'm sure of it. There's going to be series that I'm going to continue and not finish throughout the year. Maybe even DNF, I don't know. So if you've seen me look down for a couple of times, it's because I have my Cawpile open in my lap on my tablet, and I thought it would be fun to kind of go through a few stats. I don't know if any of you are stats people, but I do kind of enjoy going through these, and it's one of the fun things about filling out your Cawpile is seeing the stats change. I think one of the ones that was actually very interesting to me was the books per month that I read, which I will show the graph over here. I mean, like I mentioned, I've been reading a lot more books this year, and I think it's very interesting to see that it's actually quite even. Like, I read between 4 to 7 or around 6 books a month, which is insane, which is more than 1 book a week. And to me, that feels crazy. If we continue this, that would mean that we have another 36 books that I will finish by the end of the year, which means that I would end up reading about 70 books at the end of the year, when my original goal was to read 50. I mean, I'm saying this and I'm making it out like it's going to be easy, but I've had periods where I thought, oh, I'm going to reach that goal, no problem. And then I had a few months where I read almost nothing. So I am prepared for that, but the 50 mark seems manageable. What are also insane are the graphs about the pages that I read per month and the pages and the hours that I listened per month. I mean, in June, I read almost 2,500 pages. That's almost 3 of these. One of the things that I credit my larger reading volume to this year is the fact that I've been listening to a lot more audiobooks, which you can see in this graphic. I think the fact that I read, physically read only, how many? I mean, ebook and physical kind of feels like I've been starting to use, because you can see the one mixed media, just FYI. Mixed media I'm actually using as immersive read. I might add a category to Cawpile, which is immersive reading, which means listening to the audiobook and reading the physical copy. But the fact that I've listened to 14 audiobooks, I really do credit to the fact that I've been able to read this many books throughout this year. I listen to a lot of books now on my way to work and on my way back home. So that's about like almost 50 minutes every single day that I go to work where I can listen to an audiobook. I mean, that means that it clicks along. So, and usually when I'm actually really into an audiobook, I will listen to it. I will keep listening to it when I come home. I'll listen to it when I go grocery shopping, all of those things. Like the moment I leave the house or I have something to do where I need my hands cleaning, all of the sort of boring household things, I will have an audiobook to listen to. So those were a few of the fun Cawpile stats that I thought I would share with you. Now, obviously, what comes next is what I think a lot of people would also like to know. What are the books that I'm actually looking forward to? I think I've already mentioned a few, which is actually Caught Up by Nevessa Allen. I really want to get to. I'm hoping there's a third from the Wicked Games, which is like Phantasma Enchantra. I would like to know how that one ends, because I have no idea how she's going to finish that one off. Then obviously I'm also tentatively looking forward to the Bryn Weaver book. Like I said, I'm going to wait for the audiobook on that one. Now this might actually be a weird one, but I'm actually looking forward to the Primal from Blood and Bone from Jennifer L. Armentrout. Now I know this is book 6 in the From Blood and Ash series, where I only read up to book 3 or 4, I think. And so I'm not up to date, but I do know that this is the book, I think, where 2 of her series are gonna come together. I'm not looking forward to reading it. I'm just looking forward to knowing what people feel about it, so I know if it's worth actually going back to the From Blood and Ash series to actually figure out whether or not I want to actually read both of those series and get to that point. Because otherwise it will either add a lot to my TBR or just cancel out a lot. Now, another book that I'm actually looking forward to that's getting released by the end of the year is the second Quicksilver, which is Brimstone. I'm kind of curious to see where it's gonna go. So I enjoyed Quicksilver. I didn't love it. I enjoyed it. So I'm just curious to see where that goes. It's also on my list of series to continue. So let's just do that. So obviously, what else is going on in the second half of the year, which is, as you've noticed, the finishing and continuing and getting up to date with series. I think 15 series isn't that much. I've heard about people who have been reading 45 series at a moment in time. Now, I will mention there's a little bit of a caveat. This Cawpile talks about series that I've started or continued in this year. I didn't really take any series over that I started in the previous year. So I think there might be more, but these are the series that I'm actively wanting to continue and actively want to get up to date to. There are 3 more things that I would like to do for the second half of the year, which is obviously continue with the buddy reads. They're working, they're fun, they're keeping like me entertained, and they also doing buddy reads with like chapters, or we're gonna read up until this point to this time and all of that. It really does make me read slower and actually take things in. With, like, for example, with the Crescent Series books, we kind of had a certain page number that we wanted, or a certain chapter that we wanted to get to, and then we were just sort of waiting to get to the next part, which meant that there was a lot of time for our minds, mostly Amanda's and mine, because we hadn't read the series and Hermie had. So they were enjoying all of our theories that we were spewing, and it also gave us time to form those theories and to just get crazy and to just think about all of those things. One of the other things that I really want to do is I want to keep trying to challenge myself to diversify my reading. Not just what I'm consuming as in the genres, but also the kind of books. I want to read more manga. Also, just when it comes to the authors, the storylines, I think I can really improve on reading more diverse stories, I guess I should say. And obviously reading more from people of color, from LGBTQIA plus storylines. I did Queer Lit, which was pretty successful. And all of those stories that I read were absolutely amazing. So I just want to keep going with that and keep really trying to focus on not just reading the classic romantasy, fantasy, romance that I always do. The third thing that I want to actually focus on, and that I've sort of set myself up for, I will say I think I set myself up for failure here, but that is this. I don't really have a Goodreads anymore because reasons. So this is going to be irrelevant by next year. I don't really know if Storygraph has anything which is sort of the same, along the same vein, but I basically have a top 10 of every one of my favorite genres, which is romance, romantasy, fantasy, YA fantasy. Then we have fiction, YA fiction, mystery thriller, and debut novel. But I wanted to read a whole lot more from this list than I have currently. There's basically 80 books on here. And if I read the way that I have been reading, there's only going to be 36 more books that are going to be read by the end of the year. They cannot all come from this list, but I think at least like another 5, 6, one book from each category might be fun. It's a challenge that none but me have put on myself. Any of you who have been using Storygraph for more than 1 year and know what happens at the end of the year, are there awards? Are there like voting systems? Does anything come out where there's like top 10s or whatever? Because I do enjoy it. I would like to do something like this in the following year. So if you know, please comment down below and I will see. Otherwise, I'm sure there's more lists that I can add, that I can try and tick off. But yeah. So that's going to be it for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed this. It was interesting looking through all of the reads. Some of them I remembered, some of them I forgot. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I don't really know, but I enjoyed it nonetheless. Looking at the statistics, looking at the quite successful year that I've had throughout the first half of this year is, nothing but encouraging. So let's hope that the second half of the year brings more 5 stars, brings more diverse books, brings more buddy reads, brings all of the fun stuff, and I'm sure I will keep you up to date, and I'm sure that I will tell you all about it when December or when January of 2026 hits. So that's going to be it for this video. If you want to, please answer any of the questions that I posed in the comments down below. If you want to tell me about your favorite reads, your disappointing reads, your DNFs in the comments, please do so as well. If you don't really know what to comment, let's just put a book emoji in the comments, and I will see you all next week, which is, I'm sorry, I knew this week was supposed to be the Hunger Games vlog, but life. So you will be getting the feature-length film that is the Hunger Games video next week. I promise you, you will. I'll see you for that one next week. Okay, bye.